Welcome to another episode of Real Life Survivor Stories, a talk show about real life, real people, and real stories. And if you're new and you're just tuning in, Real Life Survivor is a non-profit organization. And what makes us unique is that we're an organization for every cause, every condition, and every circumstance. So no one ever has to feel alone or suffer in silence. We share stories on every platform. And here we give you a voice. And today I'm so excited to have with us in the studio, Aaron, Shaunta and Makhi, all the way from Moncton, New Brunswick. Now, Makhi is a real-life survivor of autism spectrum disorder and sensory processing disorder. And we're going to have his family describe how their everyday is with Makhi. Welcome, Aaron. Welcome, Makhi.
Thank you.
Welcome, Shaunta.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, to break it all down, a day in the life of Makhi would be getting up in the morning, having his computer time, and then having his breakfast. Going through his day, we have everything is scheduled out to make it a lot easier for him. He has his school time.
Right.
Then there's lunchtime. He has his game time. Like everything is broken down with the system so that it's a lot easier for him to break down the day.
Right. When was Makhi diagnosed?
When he was 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know something different because he's my second child.
Right.
So when he was a baby, he would say mom, 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 and dad, dad, dad. And then all of a sudden he just stopped.
Okay.
He was always a very quiet baby, but he would start, at around 4 months, he started doing the words, like I said, mom and dad, and then he just stopped. And by the time he was 2, he still wasn't really talking.
Wow.
So we decided that, maybe something's just a little bit different with Makhi, so we took him to a program called Tyke Talk, and that's when they told us that, gave us, basically the diagnosis.
Yeah.
They think that it could be autism spectrum disorder, is what they told us.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
with the further testing, we realized that's what it was, and then he started his speech therapy and stuff like that.
Now, how long did it take for them to diagnose Makhi?
It actually wasn't long at all. I feel fortunate because I've heard stories of other families, and we were really fortunate. It seemed pretty quick. I remember right around the same time as we were getting the diagnosis for him was when I had hurt my back. And for me, it was right around the end of December, and I know for him, it was right around the beginning of December that we discovered that we got the diagnosis for him. And I know it might have taken a month, really,
maybe a month to 2 months.
Yeah,
maybe in
it
the
was
new
pretty
year,
quick.
But yeah, and then they had him then we had us right away into like speech therapy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he started with because he wasn't really talking, and then we went to it was in a school.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the school that he
Yeah,
went to.
there was a couple of different places that we went to, but primarily what really helped the most was when he started going to the Autism Center in Dieppe.
Yeah.
Right.
That was really the big
So he was
factor.
about
That
6 years
really,
old, yeah.
And they helped us figure out different ways of being able to communicate with him, and it just opened up a lot of doors.
And potty
Right.
training and stuff like that when he was younger, because we were having a difficult time with that, and they helped us with a lot of that.
So they're really hands-on with the families,
hands-on.
just for
Yeah.
guidance and
Absolutely,
as your
yeah.
compass, your everyday.
Yeah. And I mean, it's been
Yeah.
well over 10 years since that
Wow,
happened.
okay.
And there's still people from the Autism Center that will reach out every now and then and be like, how's he doing? Like, there's one specific one, Robin, she's every now and then she'll reach out and say, how's he doing? Is
Yeah, he was
everything okay?
that was one of his teachers, and she
Yeah.
was very close with Makhi.
That's so awesome when
Yeah.
people reach out, you know what I mean,
Absolutely,
stay
yeah.
connected.
Yeah.
Now, his sensory processing disorder, does that come along with autism,
It
or is that
is.
something separate?
Yes, it is very common that you'll have a lot of children on the spectrum that will have sensory processing. And a lot of times you can see it in what they eat. Their diet will
Okay.
be specific, like I've heard of
Very-
individuals with autism that can only eat white food because that sense of sight will only allow them to eat that specific thing.
Okay.
We're fortunate with him, but it is still a struggle trying to get him to eat different
Texture
foods.
is a big thing. Makhi, it's texture. It's how it feels in your mouth. What it looks like is a big thing. He does, the stuff that he eats is also a lot of light things in color, like chicken nuggets and French fries, peanut butter and jam sandwich, things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Wow.
it's always the same. He's eaten the same foods for years.
And even times where like one of his snacks that he does love is chocolate chip cookies. But if it doesn't look the same, he has a test that he does. He rubs it on his lip for the texture,
Okay.
little taste to
And he'll
see,
smell it.
and he'll smell it, and he feels it in his hand. Like it's unique to watch him go through the process
All
of
the
making
senses,
sure
yeah.
it's the right one. Like it's
That's
yeah,
amazing.
absolutely.
It's funny how the brain works, like, and how it processes things, and how
Yes.
it's different from, your everyday.
Absolutely,
But
yeah.
it makes us realize, how special these individuals are, They're just like us, just a little different.
Absolutely.
And they teach us things, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like how amazing life is and how precious life is, our everyday.
And
They
the
teach
other,
you a
the
lot of
other,
patience.
the other
A lot of
unique
patience.
aspect, the other unique aspect of his sensory is his hearing, because he can hear something and almost mimic it sound for sound.
Amazing.
Because there's times where he'll be watching a show, and I've thought that he's rewound the show and played it again, but it's just him repeating it.
Wow.
So there's times like I'll be like, man, don't do. Oh, you just okay, never mind. Because it's like
just
I
repeated
really
that?
thought that he rewound it, but no, he just.
Brilliant, eh?
Oh yeah.
Just
so
a-
some sounds
yeah.
and shows like, oh yeah.
He's got a
it's
photographic
unique.
memory. He's definitely
Yeah.
remembers and sees things. He sees most things in pictures, they call it. Seeing in
Okay.
pictures. Like for him, I remember when he was younger, on the Wii, there's a golf game, but he didn't know what the word was. He didn't know what golf was. He didn't
Okay.
understand, but he was trying to tell me what he wanted me to put, like what game he wanted me to put on, which was a golf game, but there was a picture of a lake in the trees.
Okay.
And all he could tell me was, Mom, trees over lake.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
Sorry, trees over water, because he didn't know what lake was, but he kept saying trees over water. And then as we went through the different games, it showed the picture of the lake with the trees over it. And he's like, that one. And so then I realized, oh, he sees things in pictures. He doesn't know how to really describe it in words, but he sees it.
Right.
And so he has to, it's for him to try and process and figure out what the words are.
That's
it's
incredible,
really
though. If you really
interesting.
think about it, because I have a hard time remembering what I did yesterday sometimes, or what I was supposed to do. So that's absolutely incredible.
Oh yeah, and he's just because of his unique way of seeing the world, he's helped us to understand and look at the world in a different way.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly. That's what I meant by what I explained, because I just it's so amazing,
Yeah.
because when you have a child or a loved one that goes through something, it's kind of like, we do it this way or that way, but when they do it their way, it's like, hey, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I
absolutely.
mean? So
Yeah.
so with your everyday, like, how has it changed your everyday compared to what it was before Makhi was born? You had your lifestyle, you get up in the morning, you go to work, you come home. Living with a child with autism, what is that like with your everyday?
Well, we've been fortunate that it came to a point where both Aaron and I realized that we were better together, for us to all be together, and that him working, like we would take turns. Well, at one point he was working, and then at one point I was working. And we found that through our jobs it was too difficult to schedule anything around him if Makhi was having an episode where he was upset or needed us.
Right.
Our jobs, like, they wouldn't have the patience to say, oh, well, too bad. Like, you have to go, like, we would have to leave. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words.
No, that's
But
okay.
We would
No,
have
you're
to
doing
leave,
great.
and they wouldn't always understand that.
Yeah.
And I was working at a casino, and it was very late at night, and he was young and wasn't sleeping through the night. So we realized that we have to do something, and that's where we created Aaron's Coffee House, where we had to do something for us, that we could control our own schedule, that we could work around what Makhi needs. And it's been difficult, being self-employed and having our own business. It's difficult because every dime that we make, has to go back into our business and for our son, but it's better for us to have our own schedule and be able to do things on our own terms with him.
Absolutely.
And the best part is because we make everyone aware that Aaron's Coffee House is about autism. If there's days where he's having trouble and I don't open, people always understand. Oh, because I always do a post saying, "Hey, Makhi's having a rough day. I'm not opening today," and never get feedback, never get negative feedback. It's always just amazing. The community out there is
Yeah,
phenomenal.
we have a lot of
Yeah.
Well, you guys are
Understand.
amazing parents for doing what you're doing. I mean, you've taken away your, what you were doing in the beginning. You're going to your jobs, and I mean, you don't need the flack of, a boss saying, "Well, too bad." I mean, it's all about your child. I mean, they didn't ask to be born, basically. We brought them here, kind of thing. And it's like,
Exactly.
okay, so
It's not his fault that he has autism. He's
That's
born with it.
right.
It's not
That's
something
right.
that makes him unique. But
He's number
different.
one.
He's
Yeah.
different, not
Absolutely.
less. That's what I always say. He's different, not less.
But the biggest change that we recognized was South America. That really opened our eyes to a different lifestyle
Yes.
and the different ways of living. Like down there, when we were there, it blew our mind. The number for autism was so much lower
Yeah.
than what it was here in North America. Like initially in 2015, 1 in 100 children were diagnosed with autism in North America. And down in South America, it was 1 in 1,500. So it was really interesting to find out that kind of information. And when we went down, we noticed right away the difference in him
An
and how he,
immediate change.
like
Yeah.
within 2 weeks, he opened right up and taught himself how to ride a bike, taught himself how to swim, was playing with toys, was interacting with people. Like it just
Wow.
completely changed him.
Yeah, the first time
Absolutely.
we saw the ocean was a big thing.
Yes.
That was a big thing.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
would swim every
Yeah.
every
Rain or shine,
day.
you want to swim, swim.
Just a different atmosphere, different feel.
And
you know.
we were in a different atmosphere, and we were in a different, like our
stress
energy
was a
was
lot
different,
less.
right?
Right.
So when we were still here in Canada, our stress level, even when I had the driving school, was through the roof. We were always stressed out. So when we made the change to go to South America, even though we were still working,
Yes.
the stress level was nowhere near. So his life changed for the better. Like, it was just amazing. And even now that we're back in Canada, we still notice there's some things that he's retained from South America. Like, we still do Spanish every day. He practices
wow.
Spanish almost every day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, we really enjoyed a lot of the culture and ways of living there. So we've tried to continue that.
And they're very
here.
family oriented, so they understood for the first time when we would take Makhi somewhere.
Right.
Here in Canada, people would stare. Because sometimes he would have an episode, or he would just be uncomfortable because
Right.
of it's a sensory overload for him when you take him out in public. It's
Right.
the smells. It's especially in a grocery store.
Yes.
And all the people around, so he would have a difficult time, and I would be in tears sometimes because I would feel, the people. It was just frustrating because people wouldn't understand, and it would make us feel like we were bad parents when he couldn't help that he was speaking out or that he was expressing himself a certain way. In South America, your child is a child. They don't care what is wrong.
Wow.
If he's
See,
hollering
that's-
somewhere, they don't look at you strange.
Yeah.
There was a time that I was in the airport in Ecuador. Yeah, we were in Ecuador. We had just got there, and Makhi is obsessed with elevators. And so
Okay.
he was at the point where he was almost moving people out of the way, almost getting in front of people to hit the elevator button.
Yes.
And sometimes people were like, what's going on? And I was like, I was starting to feel, upset that, like they were, because I don't like it. It makes me upset when people look at Makhi a certain way. I'm a very mama bear, you know what I mean?
Absolutely,
So it
I hear
upsets
you.
me if they look at him a certain way because I know there's no reason for them to do that. So, and then I was sitting at TGI Fridays in the airport, and I was just in tears. And the waiter came over and he said, it's okay. He's just a boy. Like there's nothing wrong. He's not hurting anybody. He's not disturbing anybody. It's okay.
Exactly.
And it just made me feel so much better, like that people would understand that he's just a child, like that. He has his issues, but he's not hurting anybody. Like, they would just treat us like regular people. It's great.
Yeah.
And the really important part about that was that wasn't the first time we heard that in Ecuador. We heard that several times in the 3.5 years we were there, where there was people, we'd be out in public and I'd start to panic, same thing. People would be like, he's a kid, don't even stress. Don't even
Wow.
stress about
See,
it.
that's what it should be
Right,
like, but
like-
it's not always like that, is
No.
it? It's just
No,
not.
unfortunately it's not. There's
And he was
always
young
that.
when we were in Ecuador. He was 6. Yeah, I think 6 or I think when we went to Ecuador, he was 6 years old. So.
Yeah, yeah. But there's always, here in North America, there's always the look. It's almost impossible to not get the look from people.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that's the frustrating part that I have, because I'm all about tone of voice and body language. So I react sometimes
Yes.
just because somebody will look the wrong way, and I'm like, okay, it's
And we have to-
unfortunate here, but it
yeah.
is,
And you shouldn't have to explain.
yeah.
For those parents out there that are going through the same thing
Yeah.
that Aaron and Shaunta are,
Yeah.
that have a child with autism, you shouldn't have to explain, okay, this is what's wrong, this is what he's dealing with.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could say, my son has autism, so just,
Right.
please be nice.
And the way I look at it right now, I mean, it's 2023. Autism is not new. It has been around
No,
for
exactly.
a very long time. So I don't feel like we should have to put a badge on him that says,
Yeah, we
never
I
do
have,
that.
like, it's
That's
just,
right.
it's getting to the point where it's unfortunate, but it seems like that's the only way to kind of get away with not having to deal with that negativity. But regardless, that you'll never see us.
Yeah, I
Because
could.
there's no reason
No,
to put
you
that
should
kind of a
not
thing
have to
on
do
him.
that.
And
at
we're not
all.
ashamed of Makhi. Like, if somebody
not at
asks
all.
us, we will
Yeah.
tell them, yes, he has autism. Like, this is why he does the things that he does, and that's just
If-
the way it is. Like,
Yeah.
we have
If you
no
don't like
problem
it,
with
turn
that.
around.
Yeah, and we have no problem with
That's
people
right.
being curious. Like, people see somebody doing something and they're gonna be curious or want to know.
Oh,
And-
absolutely.
And how do we not? If we don't ask questions, nobody will learn anything, and that gives us a chance to educate people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. We do our best. We're not perfect. I get frustrated. There's days I just want to pull my hair out because
Yes.
I cannot. Like, Makhi does a lot of what I call scripting, which means he repeats. He has like I said, a photographic memory. He also remembers everything that people say. So
okay.
when he's watching an episode of a certain favorite show of his, he repeats it word for word for word over and over and over again. And he's been doing this for years, so it gets to the point where I kind of have a PTSD of him repeating
Right.
things. So it gets kind of difficult that way. But
The other thing that is a little bit of an issue when it comes to his scripting is if he knows or thinks he's going to be getting in trouble, it's the police, I'm under arrest, I'm going to jail, and it's all from a TV show, all of it. And so he automatically associates any type of punishment, regardless of what it is, to that factor. And it's like, we have been trying for so long to break that factor, and it's just, it's almost like it's tattooed in his brain that that's the way it is, regardless. So it's really
if you were
interesting.
out and that happened, you know what I mean?
Actually,
have you had that episode?
So we,
we had
Tell us about
example.
that.
But you want to tell it?
Yes. So we were at the Dollarama in Moncton, and we were getting ready to leave, and there was two gentlemen sitting out front. I
Yeah,
can't
they were
help but
standing
laugh.
there waiting.
They were
it's
standing there
just
just
good.
kind of waiting,
Yeah.
and he come out scripting whatever the episode was,
It's the
but
police.
the police are coming, the police are here, they're coming to get you, and these two guys at the same time as he said that, a cab had pulled up, and I'm telling you, they couldn't get in that cab fast
They
enough.
looked at each other and jumped in the cab.
The fear in their eyes.
Well, yeah.
Oh, the cops are coming.
And when it
It
says
was just-
police, you're like, what?
Right?
Where?
And Mackay's he should have been in drama because he repeats it the way, it's the police. And
Yeah, full of the emotion behind it and everything. So like I was saying, when he repeats something, it's tone for tone, like you would hear it in whatever show he's heard it. So if there's anger behind it, he's going to put anger. If there's any emotion, you're going to hear it in what he says. So it was really interesting to see their reaction.
Oh,
and
there's
the
many
run.
times we've had to explain to him that he will literally holler in the house because he's scripting something that somebody said on the TV, just the way that they would, and they were angry.
Right.
And I'm like, Mackay, what are you doing? Because I'm thinking that he's upset about something. So I'm going, oh, what's going on? And he's like, no. I'm like, Mackay, you're scripting again. Yep.
Yeah. Now, for viewers watching today, where can they go, or maybe there's a phone number they can call, or maybe people that you've dealt with that have helped you guys, along your journey?
When it comes to autism, really, I mean, we did a lot of research. We've done a lot of talking to parents, really. The doctors in the medical field, they know a lot, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to children with autism, when you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism. They're all unique in their own way.
Exactly.
So really, when it comes right down to it, the best thing was best advice I can give is find an autism community of parents that have gone through it, because you'll be able to get the best help from them. Those are the ones that have lived through it, that have struggled through it, and know this is what we did. It may work for your child, but it may not. But at least
Exactly.
it's a good way to have an understanding.
That's
and,
right.
And if you have the funds, it is more expensive, but there is private care out there. There is private, like there is in the Bear Center, I believe, in Moncton. And it was, I don't know what it was before, but when Mackay used to go there when he was younger, that was a great help. He was there until he was about 6. So I would recommend if anybody can afford to, because unfortunately if you're not covered by the government, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it can, like I remember years ago, I don't know what the price is now, but years ago it was $25,000, I think,
Wow.
a year.
About a year, yeah.
A year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it was, that was years ago, so I'm sure it's more than that now. But I would recommend it if anybody could afford to, because he got a lot of training and we got a lot of help from them. I said, what do you say?
Excuse me.
Certainly. You're doing great.
So we got a lot of help from them. So I would recommend that if anybody is able to. It's a great start. They give you a lot of information
Right.
and a lot of hands-on. Like Mackay, they were very hands-on with him, and as long as you're willing to work with them, they're
Yep.
willing to help you. Like you have to also do the homework kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to work with your child outside of the center, or nothing will change.
Yeah.
Like that's one big thing we've noticed, that when we said to other parents too, like if you don't do the same thing as you do in the center with him at home, then nothing will ever change.
Yeah. I remember speaking with other parents at the time, and they'd go home and say, well, this isn't working. Well, are you following the steps? Are you doing the same thing at home as they're doing here?
That's right.
Well, I think we should do it. What if it's working here? Follow the same steps.
Continue that pattern.
Once you've got that
Yeah.
pattern created at home, then make some variations if you want to, but get the pattern going. Continue it. Then make your variations if you want to.
Exactly.
But
Because each child is different, so they try to make a program unique to each child. Like Mackay, they worked with him a certain way. They knew he was very visual, so they had to explain things, especially when he was younger, and potty training and stuff like that. Like very smart though. He's very
Yes.
smart.
Oh, yes, he was.
Yeah, he would hold it all day.
Oh, yes.
Until he said those Pampers,
Right on.
Yeah.
those pull-ups, and then he would let him
Sometimes a
out.
little too smart. I think.
Yeah.
Now, is he involved in any activities, or is he like, does he recreationally? Does he do anything
Not right
outside the
now.
home?
That's the thing. Like since we started the business, especially since we moved
Yeah.
the business to the airport, the business has been so consuming that we haven't had time to really do anything.
Right.
That's why I'm looking forward to this change, because this change is going to make things go a lot faster. I mean, I'm only one person. She's been home with Makhi, so where we're going to have 2 locations, that means I'm going to have to hire. And being able to hire means that I'm going to be able to take some steps back and not
Yes.
always be the one working.
In the front, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
which means then I'll be able to actually take the time that's needed for my family and get us out and interacting with people and get him socializing.
Yeah, because unfortunately, that's been our biggest hurdle with Makhi, is that since he was 6, we left for Ecuador, and he was starting to socialize there, but unfortunately, we didn't know enough Spanish at the time, so it was a big language barrier. So
Yes.
that's why it didn't quite work out there. But unfortunately, we've always struggled. So he's always been with us. He's always been around adults mostly, so he doesn't really know what somebody his age acts like. You know, like he's very much
Exactly, yeah.
known only from TV and what other kids, you know, like he's seen on TV. So I find that Makhi's still very young for 16.
Right.
You know, so because he hasn't been around enough teenagers, you know, and he's different. So I mean, he's not going to act like a typical teenager, but he acts very young compared to other teenagers because he hasn't been around anybody his own age.
Right. Well, you guys want to get yourself settled first and comfortable, and then you can focus.
Poor guy, he's only had
on-
us.
Yeah.
In the last
That's-
few years,
you guys are awesome,
in the
though.
last few years, the way things were going, it was hard to socialize
for sure.
to begin with.
I was going
right?
to say, yeah, we opened it in September 2020 was when we opened Aaron's Coffee House. And then we thought that was like the worst of COVID. And that was just the beginning.
Right,
And
yes.
so he didn't get to socialize. We didn't put him in school. Like we've been homeschooling him since he was young. And we thought, well, when we got back, maybe we
Wow.
would try so he could get some socialization. And then COVID hit. And
So
that was it.
just
You guys are so amazing. I'm just sitting here. I'm just wowed by your story and just what you guys do. You're so hands-on. You know, he's so lucky to have you guys. There's some parents don't have the time to do that, and you guys
Oh,
are making the
appreciate that.
time. And a lot of
Thank
people
you.
do make the time,
Well,
but
that-
it's they feel that, and
Absolutely.
And we
Makhi
just-
feels that.
And we just do it. We never even thought about it. When we picked up and left everything and moved to Ecuador, sold our house and everything, we didn't even know where we were going to go. We had an idea, but we had no idea exactly. Like we hadn't talked to anybody, had any plans.
Right.
So we just went, and
Leap of faith
yeah,
kind of thing.
Basically, I
Yeah.
just did some research and a leap of faith, and we realized that the numbers were lower there, and we want to see why that was.
Right on.
And we were at a point too, like he was going through some stuff. We were all struggling in one way or another.
Yeah,
Like,
my
a change
family
was
and-
absolutely needed.
Right.
It was absolutely
Like-
needed for everyone.
Yeah.
And it was the best change. It was the best choice that we ever made.
And we only have us. Like this is it. This because he's got a brother. He's got 2 older brothers, and like my oldest son is 24, and he does come and visit and stuff. So him and Makhi have a great relationship. It's just he's working, so he has a hard time, and he also has ADHD. My oldest son.
Right.
So he also has had his share of difficulties. So like him and Makhi understand each other.
That's awesome,
Very
eh?
well.
That's so
they,
awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
They have he has a hard time because he doesn't get to see him very often, but because he doesn't understand about how he's got to work and pay the bills and kind of thing. But
He just knows when he sees him, it's a good day.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Right on.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
So what inspiration would you guys, I'm going to ask you, give to other families out there that are struggling with autism, a child or what have you, and they have no direction, or maybe they're, noticing signs, they're not too sure, maybe been to doctors, but nobody can figure it out. There's probably those families out there that are struggling that have been to doctor after doctor, and they still can't give you a diagnosis. This is why we have people like Aaron and Shaunta on the show, so they can help people like you that are, looking for answers. So what kind of inspiration would you give to those families that are kind of feeling lost right now?
Number one, listen to your child,
Absolutely.
because you're the only one that really knows and understands your child. Doctors know a lot. They do a lot of research, and I'm not saying they can't help, but your child's going to show you the direction they need to go in. And that's the number one thing that we've followed, is listen to your child, because you are the only person that's going to truly understand what they're trying to communicate.
Absolutely.
And their communication may not always be in words. Look into their eyes and follow their body. I'm telling you, they're going to tell you what you need to know.
And don't give up hope.
No.
Right.
And don't research online.
No.
No, don't Google anything.
I mean,
Not
Google,
do it.
Google is good,
No.
but that was one of the biggest mistakes we made was YouTube.
When we-
YouTube was
yeah.
negative at first,
When we
and
first
then
did
we
was-
stopped.
It can
Yeah.
scare you, right?
Oh, it
Absolutely.
really did.
mean,
All it was
because-
negative, how he was never going to get married, he was never going to have children, he was never going to have a normal childhood.
Yeah.
All these stories that were unfortunately
Yes.
sad stories and we didn't understand. Like I was mortified. I was like, oh my Lord, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And it's, yes, autism is complicated. Every child is different, but like Aaron said, if you listen to your child and just follow their lead, they'll guide you, tell you what they need. And so that's what we've done with Makhi. It's still a struggle every day, but you know, it gets better when we listen to him and what he needs. And a lot of times you have to take a step back and listen, because I've had a hard time with that.
Right.
You know, my family was strict, so I was always the stricter, I'm the more strict parent.
Right.
So it's like, and Aaron sees things different than I do, so he has more patience. So he's taught me how to sit back and try and listen to what Makhi needs more than just, Makhi, tell me, what do you want? What do you know, like instead of trying to demand from him, that's another thing I would say is listen to your child. Listen, let them answer, give them the time to answer what you need. If you ask them a question, give them the time to answer and listen. You just have to have patience and listen.
That's amazing. Well, I want to thank you. High five. High five. Do my high fives. I want to thank you guys for coming on the show today and coming all the way from Moncton, New Brunswick. And I want to thank you for watching today. And if you're someone out there that would like to share your real life survivor story with us, you can reach out to me on Facebook under Julie Comeau and also my fan page, Real Life Survivor. And remember, no matter the obstacle, no matter the struggle, no matter the challenge, never give up. We'll see you back here next time with another real life survivor story.